want to thank Professor Kannan and the team at APVIC for giving me this opportunity. So I want to present a timely intervention. So I have no conflicts of interest to report. And my patient was a 44-year-old male who presented actually with very sudden onset severe back pain after doing some heavy work. He had a past history of diabetes and hypertension. An examination revealed that he was tachycardic and his blood pressure was 180/70. Actually, he was transferred to us from peripheral hospital and his condition had rapidly deteriorated there. And he came actually with an urgent CT, which relieved that he had an aortic dissection, a type A, that extended from the subclavian artery to the left iliac. So he was having compromisation of the blood flow in the inferior mesenteric as well as the superior mesenteric. So actually, since he was very developed, his blood pressure became unstable, and our surgeons were not willing to take him in immediately. We took him to the cath lab and just did an angiogram to see whether there was any possibility of us doing anything to help. And so this angiogram shows the dissection above the renal arteries. And so we decided to do an urgent fenestration. So this had not been done before actually in our unit, but I had seen Professor Kannan doing it when we had come for sessions with him before this. So I gave him a call and he told me to just try and go ahead, otherwise he might not survive. So we actually did a puncture with the Brockenborough, so the PTMC needle, and we didn't have peripheral IVUS. So we had to do it only under fluoroscopy, which was a bit stressful actually, because what we did was we connected the pressure gauge to the needle, and once we punctured, we realized we were in the false lumen because the pressure suddenly went up. So yeah, this was us using the needle, the Brockenborough needle, and so we confirmed that we had punctured and the blood pressure suddenly went up, so we knew that we were in the false lumen. And then we inserted a super stiff guide wire into the false lumen. And following that, we did some dilatations, but these were the only peripheral balloons that were actually available at our this center, because we are not a peripheral center. So we first dilated it with the Mustang 6x40 balloon. And subsequently, we did a second dilatation with the Mustang 8x80. And so when we did the pressure measurements afterwards, we found that actually the pressure had equalized in both the false lumen as well as the true lumen. So this was the angiogram we took after we had done the dissection. And actually the patient had high fever when we did this procedure, and within 24 hours his fever came down and his symptoms improved rapidly, such as the abdominal distension that he was having. So stenting is actually, the surgeons actually were not willing to go ahead with surgery for this patient because they had our Sri Lankan setup. Dissection surgery is not done very commonly. So the patient actually went for stenting to India. So we referred him to Dr. George Joseph, and he actually had done a chimney procedure and stenting of his aorta. And 6 months hence, the patient was doing very well. He only developed a false aneurysm in his right femoral artery, which we actually stented. So I know it was discussed earlier today, this malperfusion syndrome due to aortic dissection can result in a severe decrease in blood supply to the visceral and the lower limb and the spinal cord as well. And percutaneous fenestration is of high value as it can be done with minimal resources such as what we have, until it buys time until definitive therapy is available. So that's what my case is that I wanted to present.
Thank you, Dr. Tania. That was a wonderful case, and I can tell you not many people would dare to do these dissections and malperfusion syndromes. It requires a real courage to do it, and especially if you do not have full backup supports. But these are always very life-saving, and many a times, you have patients of acute dissection dying because of malperfusion syndromes. It could be in the coronaries, it could be in the brain, could be in the visceral arteries, and they die of renal failure, acidosis, and abdominal infarction. and this is what needs to be done. The later on, the dissection can be managed either medically or by endovascular grafts or surgically. So that was very well done. Amira has a great interest in aortic dissection. Amira, would you like to comment on this?
Yes, of course. In malperfusion, we could do fenestration to establish the flow in the true lumen. But with the MFM, we don't need to. You don't need to do that, because when we place the MFM in the same time, we have the perfusion into the branch through the true lumen.
That is another very good option, but many centers in the world, many countries do not have access to MFM. Even in India now, it's not available. But yes, if that is there, it takes care of two things at one time, not only malperfusion, but also takes care of the dissection also. So you don't have to do chimneys and hybrids, and you can correct both the things together. And actually, like after yesterday's discussion, I think I got an impression that for acute aortic dissection, MFM actually works better than for large aneurysms. So for dissection, that should be the way to go. Is that right?
Yes.
Tanya, just I want to ask a question. Where exactly you select the site of puncture?
Actually, we have punctured below the renal vessels, above the bifurcation.
No, you in pulse lumen and the true lumen. At the end of the pulse lumen, there you select, or anywhere in the middle of the true and pulse?
It was like the middle. The CT had given us a very detailed, report. So we punctured in between where we thought that there was no other major vessels, between the renal.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tanya. And now I have the other procedure interventionalist, Dr. Obiora. And Dr. Obiora, this is such a wonderful thing to see you and welcome you with your mother chairing the session. And it reminds me of the first time we met your mother and father, and then after that you came, and then after you, with such a wonderful work you did. There has been a constant chain of Nigerian doctors who have been coming. So now it's very good to see you working in UK. So Dr. Obiora is going to be talking about ultrasound guided arterial punctures, and in fact you're going to be talking about that. Is that true?
No, sir. I'm talking about venous access devices, sir.
Okay, perfect. So Dr. Obiora specializes in ultrasound guided punctures, arterial access. He's the one who has taught me also, and he does the hands-on workshop every year, which we could not do this year, and we got some mannequins for him, and every year he conducts that workshop very well. Also, he's been a joint editor and of the text Handbook of Structural and Peripheral Vascular Disease, which has been released by and forwarded by Dr. Martin Leon and released by Dr. Greg Stone. So Obiora, over to you.
Okay, sir.